Hey, what's up, YouTube? Um, I just want to talk about motorcycles, Harleys versus the metric. This is my first video on YouTube where I'm actually speaking, so bear with me. I tend to stutter a bit. Okay, what we have here is a 2005 V-Star 1100 1100cc custom midnight edition. So it's a custom, it's got short fenders, whereas the classic bike would have a higher sitting stance, same frame, but the seat is a bit higher. It's got full fenders, and it's kind of like that Harley Davidson Road King. Uh, so this custom. Sitting on the custom versus the classic. The custom, this one, when you sit on that seat there, you sit in the bike. And there's a difference between sitting on a bike and sitting in a bike. I like the feeling of sitting in. Okay. Now, this is a 2005. I bought this bike for $1,000 in 2010, and it's now 2018. Okay, I think this bike, brand new, was going for, I think, around 8, maybe 10. I don't know, I'm not sure, but it was not that it was not expensive at all. But if you were to compare this to a Harley Davidson custom, a softail custom, because the difference between softail and a Dyna was the frame. A softail would have a monoshock, and the Dyna, well, it's dynamic. It's just short for dynamic. You have the shocks on the outside, where you can see it in front of the saddlebags there. I personally like the softail. I like the monoshock. It's less bumpy. It's more forgiving on your back. Okay. But if you were to buy a custom Harley, a softail Harley custom, I don't give a shit about the brand name, the Breakout or the Night Train. A custom's a custom. Okay. I mean, when I say that, you got a Fat Boy, which is a softail, but there's different forks and there's different rear swing arms for the wheels. So let's just say, just your basic custom, a Harley Davidson that basically looks like this, which in a way this kind of looks like one of those super glides or low riders. But anyways, let's compare it to the Harley Davidson custom, softail custom. Now, the Harley Davidson will cost much more money. It probably will cost 18. So it's probably, it's around $8,000 to $10,000 more than this one. And a lot of people say, well, with Harley Davidson, you pay for the name. Well, this is my opinion, of course. You do pay for the name. Just like if you buy a Ferrari, you're paying for that name. You're paying for the fact that that motor is all that, and it sounds the way it sounds. That's exactly what you're paying for. For the look, for the feel, and for the speed. You can buy a Camaro, it'll be just as fast, but you're paying for that Italian comfort. So when you buy a Harley, you're paying for the American comfort. When you buy this, you're bargain shopping. I really didn't want this bike. The guy that I bought it off of, he didn't want it. He wasn't a rider. And this bike's got 27,000 miles, I believe. Could be more. I bought it at 18,000 miles. So this, I've had other bikes, but this bike is the longest bike I ever had. But there's plenty that I would change. There's plenty that I would change from this bike. That Harley would give me, that Yamaha won't. And that might just involve all the Japanese bikes. Like, for instance, let's start at the front. Well, I mean, it's a nice bike. I think it's nice. Yeah, I put these on, these spikes. I try to give it an identity. It's a good platform for your own identity, whether you want to make it look like a cruiser, a bagger. You can get a Memphis shade, a fairing, and you got yourself a touring bike. It's convertible is what I'm trying to say. Or you can bob this bike with some nice ape hangers and bob it. Now, a lot of the Harleys, the Softails, the customs, are designed more to look like that bobber. Okay, but let's start here. This right here, this is plastic. How much does this plastic actually cost? In relation to a steel fender. So that's plastic. What is the pro about it? Well, plastic, it ain't gonna rust. But plastic, the sun beats on it and it just can discolor it, just like the forks. Now there's some shine to there, but that's because I detailed it. I use WD-40, which any petroleum type chemical could pretty much put a shine on anything. It doesn't damage paint. It doesn't harm electrical. Now it's plastic. Then we go to the wheel. It's a small wheel. So when I'm taking a turn, sometimes I don't feel too confident. Mind you, I had this bike since 2010. This is an 18-inch wheel, I believe. The tires are not Dunlops. I'm sick of Dunlops. These are Shinko Tours. And they're a softer compound. They really hug the road. But I mean, that should have been a 21-inch standard. I like the fact it's got dual front disc instead of one. I had a Honda Shadow that only had one. Okay, so that's cool there. I mean, this disc looks ugly in a way. I mean, they could have done something there. Allen bolts pretty it up. But it's basic. Let's see what kind of brake caliper it has. What kind of brake caliper is that? It's just a brake caliper. And so if you were to get a Harley, you probably have Brembo brakes. And as far as Brembo brakes, everybody's heard of Brembo brakes. Everybody buys Brembo brakes because they're Brembo brakes. So you pay for that name. Okay. Well, let's see. What else could I show you? Oh, right here. This is where the ignition goes. Now, what I like about this bike is that it looks naked. It's air cooled. Um, it looks pretty much like what a motorcycle should look. But this, my friend, this is not steel. This is aluminum. How can you tell if your bike's aluminum? You can put a magnet to it. You can knock on it. But the biggest giveaway is the weld. Because when you weld aluminum, you cannot grind it. Now, if that was Harley Davidson, this weld wouldn't be there. It would be flushed. Because you can grind metal. The Harley Davidson has a metal. So you need, this is really thick piece of aluminum. Whereas a Harley Davidson would have a metal, this would be metal. It would be round. Okay. Now, I wish that this cover wasn't here. Look how ugly this looks. The electrical is exposed. Everything is exposed. You have, this is your throttle wires. Okay. It's got two because so it doesn't go forward. The levers that were on this were horrible. I changed them out to a Harley Davidson simulator. So these are not from a Harley, but they're wider here. And Harley Davidsons, they tend to be wider here and a bit shorter. So this is not all in your way. Because the stock ones is like, where the hell do I grab this? It was just weird. Now this cover shouldn't be here. Because if this cover was gone, you would see the nice bone. And when I say bone, I mean the frame. There is actually framing. This is actually a round frame inside. I've seen it. I took it out. I've seen it. But that's where they hide the electrical. But if there was no cover there, whoa, wouldn't that look just like it was handmade? Like a biker build off, you know. They just grab a frame, put a tank, put an engine. Simplicity. That's what I mean. Okay. On all these metric bikes, the controls are pretty much the same. You have your high beam, the left, right, and then to cancel, you go in the middle. Then your horn, which sounds like the beep beep, like the Roadrunner. Choke. Some Yamahas have the choke in the engine. It's a little pull cord. And it starts here. So you have no four ways. Now, some newer metric bikes have a four-way switch. But Harley Davidson's always had, Harley Davidson has the run button. So this run button would be here in black. And I don't know why they paint this in red. A lot of people think that this is for an emergency. No, this is to shut your bike off. You're on a hill. You can't reach for the key because you can't let go of the brake. You hit this. Now some people say, oh, if you use this, you'll break the wire that's inside. So you're saying that this is a cheap design? Is that what you're saying? No. This is under the same circuit as the ignition and as the kickstand. It's in the same circuit. These bars. This bike vibrates a bit. You start it up, it shakes a bit. I like that. But the reason why you see, especially the tail will shake. But the reason why you see that shake is because it's very light. Everything's plastic. And on the Harleys, they shake because the motor on a dyno frame is not balanced. Whereas a soft tail motor, what they call the B motor, it has balancers in it. So you get less vibration. This one's hard, solid mounted. There's no rubber bolts, no nothing. It's solid mounted. This cannot rock. Because this engine in trans it's all one unit. I hate that. I mean, could you imagine having a car where the engine and trans was all one unit, and you had to replace something in a trans, and somebody's got to take your engine out and split it in half just to, you know, it doesn't make sense. Okay, the tank, there's some metal there. That's plastic. So the Harley one wouldn't be plastic. There's no plastic on a Harley. This is plastic. This cover, this is where the battery is. That's plastic. So you see where the cost, the difference in cost? I mean, obviously plastic is cheaper, and plastic is here to stay. But it's cheaper. It's cheaper to manufacture than steel. You know, if you get a Harley Davidson, it's a steel frame, steel tins. Tins would be your tank, your fenders. It's all metal. So right there, that's probably like $4,000 or $5,000 already. All right. What else? This is where actually the clutch lives. That is an aluminum piece. This has a cartridge filter. To do the oil change, you have to take out this derby looking cover. This cover right here is nothing. That doesn't do anything. That's just there because it's there. I don't know why. It's stupid. I mean, you pop this cover out, there's nothing there. So it's a bit confusing when you take it apart. I guess maybe if you had a bigger exhaust, maybe you would remove that, and, you know, gives you a little bit of clearance. I don't know, but it's stupid. You're limited to exhaust because look where the control is. So in order to take this oil filter out, I have to undo the two bolts under here so that this foot peg could just come down a bit. And it has a cartridge filter. Now, that sucks because a cartridge filter, you can't catch pieces of metal. Every motor, every machine, everything that's operated by gasoline, the friction, there's gonna be some metal in that oil. It's just how it is. But in a can style, twist style filter, at least it will trap it in there. In the cartridge, it filters. It does what it does. What it is. It's an oil filter. It filters the oil, but it would not catch, you know, a piece of metal floating around. So that's a stupid fucking design. Now there is a kit for it, however, where you would pop out that cover. There's two lines, braided steel, and you will clamp it to the frame here, and then you get a can. It's $300. Somebody was smart enough and said, well, that's how it should have been done in the first place. Okay. But let me just remind you, this video is about the cost. I mean, you cannot compare this bike, this Yamaha V-Star 1100 Custom, to a Harley Davidson Softail Custom. This is why there's a big difference in price. The handlebars. I mean, if you bang these bars, it just vibrates. It's like it's almost hollow or something. But it's a real nice bike. I like this bike. The engine, however, is a 52-degree engine. The engine, however, rides on a single pin crankshaft, just like Harley Davidson's always done. The reason why Harley Davidson's done it that way is because when they had a single piston, and they decided, well, let's add another one, 45 degrees to that one, they just basically added another piston to the already existing crankshaft. So now Hondas, they have a 2-pin crankshaft, so you get one piston going up, one coming down, like that. With the Harley, it's more like this, so you get that galloping idle, and this one is almost the same. Okay. These are all accessories, obviously, that I put on. More plastic. You can take the seat out. I don't really ride anyone. You can take the seat out and make it look more, more just for you, But let me tell you, that fender under that seat is really ugly. It's really dirty. It's already bruised by the seat. You wouldn't want to do that. And then to put bags on this, you would have to buy, like, this is not original here. This is not original. These mounting brackets, they're not original. So depending on the bag that you put on, well, there's a different strut for everyone. So if I wanted to remove this backrest, this seat, I'm stuck with this sticking up in the air. It's a lose-lose. I really do want to take it out. Serves no purpose. I could put probably a luggage there. That's what this is for. Yeah, seat's ripped. It's a cheap fix. You can buy another one of these pads. Okay. On the back now. Oh, the exhaust. It's an aftermarket exhaust. Okay, what this was a 2-into-1 Cobra exhaust. And what happened, the reason why I took that off, it sounded really great, really deep, was that the boat, this boat will come loose, or was it, is either that boat, I'm trying to get the camera to focus, there's 2 boats holding it up, it would pop off. And the reason it'd pop off was because I had 2 accidents on this bike. It's not damaged because I had an engine guard. The engine guard is damaged. It bent forward, and since it bent forward, I really couldn't use the brake, so I had to take it off. It mounted funny too. It used this bolt here, and I don't even remember. It was stupid. Okay. So what happened was, when it dropped, I guess it did bottom out. I don't know if it was the accident, but it bottomed out here, and so therefore the collector was different. So you can see the pipe. If you see it, this one's a bit longer than that one. So it did not match the collector. So what it was doing, it was forcing this pipe out. And then you got a bracket there that looks really ugly, that I would like to chop right off. I don't even know if you can grind, you can't use a grinding wheel on aluminum. It's like trying to grind down wood. It just doesn't work. Yeah, so this is all aluminum. Which is pretty good. I mean, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's why it's cheap. That's why, when I say cheap, I mean affordable. Okay. Well, back to the exhaust. So what I did is I took off the muffler. I took off the collector. And now I'm just running headers. It loves it. But there is baffles in there. There's universal baffles, because you need it for inspection. You don't need it for the bike, for the health of the bike. If you don't believe me, do some research on exhaust scavenging. Okay, well, what else could I say here? Well, the bags are okay. They're not real leather. They're vinyl or plastic. Look at. I try to glue it so many times it breaks. The back looks nice with a nice tail light. You know, the signal lights are a little out there. You know what I mean? So could you imagine this bike with no bags and those signal lights just sticking straight out? It would look kind of weird. And I don't know if you can see the tire. Let me try to focus on the tire. Oh, forget the tire. This is also a drive shaft. Now they say drive shaft. You can forget about a drive shaft. You don't even have to touch it. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, you do. That takes gear oil in there. And currently, this drive shaft, from doing hose shots and taking off fast, well, it broke the intermediate shaft. The motor itself, I mean, look how far. This is not the clutch side. This, on the Harley, the clutch would be over here. The crank would be over here. This is just and here is the harmonic balancer. Over here is an idler gear on this side. And what they do, if you notice, the motor, this one is further this way and that one's further that way. Well, they use a chain. Cams on the top. Oh, this cover's plastic, by the way. So what they're trying to do there, they're trying to make it seem like that's an actual head. That's not a head. Matter of fact, this doesn't even pop out this way. It pops out this way. So those two bolts, you pop that off and you pop this cover off, you'll see the sprocket. So it's a very different type of build than a Harley. It's different. You cannot compare it. So you cannot knock this bike and you cannot knock a Harley. They're just very different. One thing I don't like is the cable. This clutch is operated by a cable, which will rust. I already replaced it. The cable then routes through here. The throw bearing is in there. The starter is back there somewhere. Complicated. There's no chain here like a Harley would have, or a primary belt. It's gear to gear. Gear to gear, it's not all that good, to be honest with you. It would eventually, the constant mesh will eventually break something. What else could I say about it? Yeah, so the heads, what's supposed to be the heads, they're plastic. This is what you get for $8,000. I'll start it up. Let me tell you what I've done to it. So it's got the ram air there. It's a blower, whatever you call it. Hypercharger. I call it a blower. Technically, that's what it is. With that blower, I had to change the jets out. It's carbureted. The jets are a 125 jet. Stock ones are 106 in the back and a 106 in the front. They're 125s now. So aspiration, it's at its limit. Can't go any more. I mean, any bigger than that size jet, you might as well just get rid of the jet. Doesn't choke when I Give it full throttle. Okay, bear with me a second. Okay, so you cannot, this is carburetor, you cannot crank this and start it because of the size of the jet. You have to give it like a little bit of a churn like that. I don't know if you can see it rocking. You might see that it's rocking a little bit. If I study the phone, or if I put the phone right here, that's the vibration. I like that. That's how a bike should feel. And it sounds good. Got a nice galloping sound. Let me shut it off. But if you were to buy I think the only bikes that are identical with the Yamaha, this one, compare it to the Roadstar. Same thing, 1700cc, single pinch crankshaft, has a nice exhaust note. But all the other ones, Stradaliner, Radar, they sound weird. I don't like the double pin crankshaft. I do not like the steady idle, the boop 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 boop. I want it to sound more like a jackhammer. So that's another thing. You can't go to the Yamaha dealer and say, I want that bike because it's big, or I want that bike because it's small. I mean, what if you're a small guy and you want power? Well, guess what? You're probably leaving there with a 750. Or if you go to Harley and you get a small bike, let's say you get a Dyna Lowrider, Dyna, what do you got? Wide Glide, Street Glide is not a Dyna. There's a couple of Dynas out there, a few Dynas out there. Some feel smaller when you sit on them, some feel a little bit bigger. But your heart, the engine, for the longest time has been a 96 cubic inch. So you don't have to sacrifice engine size because you're getting a smaller bike. Now, that's another thing. If you were to get a Harley Davidson right now, that is exactly like this, like a soft tail custom, meaning monoshock, custom, small fenders, you're going to be sitting on what they got, a 104 cubic inch engine, 103. That's big. And they got a 114 as well. It's the Harley Davidson Breakout. That's not fair. You know, I want more power under my seat. I want more. I mean, this bike is powerful. It's not slow. But who doesn't want bigger balls? You know what I mean? Come on. You don't have that choice with the metric world, but you have that choice in the Harley world. But this bike, it is worthy. I'll tell you that. It's road friendly. I had a Honda Sabre that the air filter, I mean, they just started putting the air filters out here too. They used to be under the seat. Matter of fact, when you took the tank off, the backbone was like a wishbone, and the backbone was part of the air induction. They incorporated a frame as part of the air induction. So I guess if you dropped the bike, cracked it, then it's not gonna work. That's stupid. Simplicity is the key. Alright guys, I think this wraps up this video, but I'll let you have another look. So it's a 2005 Yamaha V-Star 1100. And I'll be fooled. This cover right here, Got this cover, another plastic cover. That's the tool bag in there. The thing is that Harley Davidson, some bikes, this similarity, this wannabe look, American look, they're trying to simulate the oil bag on a Harley. So Yamaha, come on, make your own bike, seriously. But I like it, whatever. And this cover down here, don't be fooled, it doesn't hide much of anything. There's really nothing in there. Alright. That's it, guys. Have a good day.